Tomorrow morning is the annual Common Bond Breakfast in Fort Wayne. It benefits Aaron's House for Grieving Children.
This year's keynote speaker is Austin Hatch. The former Canterbury basketball standout survived 2 plane crashes and just finished his sophomore year at the University of Michigan. News Channel 15 sports director Glenn Marini recently sat down with Austin in Ann Arbor. He joins us now with his exclusive reports.
Now listed as a student assistant for the Michigan basketball program, Austin is far from your typical 21-year-old studying business. Mature, intelligent, and thoughtful as always. I had the chance to sit down with Austin at midcourt at the Chrysler Center. 5 years after the second plane crash, it's Austin Hatch like you've never heard him before. For a long time, you had this quote on your Twitter saying, trying to be more than a cool story. What does that mean to you in life, in application?
1 in 3.4 million is the chance of surviving 1 plane crash with 1 fatality, at least 1 fatality. And then so I survived 2 of those. So the chances of surviving both 1 in 11 quadrillion, 560 trillion makes for a pretty cool story, right? I don't just want to be a story that people read in the newspaper, read in the magazine, and get inspired by. God, for me, God the Father has given me a 3rd chance at life, and I want to make it worth something.
How often do you think of the crash in 2003 or the crash in 2011?
I don't think of the event very often, because, well, pertaining to the crash in 2011, I don't remember it. I was knocked out. I don't remember several weeks before that. I don't remember.
Well, you know, Michigan's a great school, and today's the first day they could actually contact me.
I always tell people I don't really remember committing to Michigan. I've told you, our interview at Spies Fieldhouse on June 15th, 2011, 9 days before. I don't remember that.
I had great questions.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously.
Yeah. Well, because, see, I've seen it play on the internet, and so then I'm like, okay, so I saw it, and then it's kind of, oh yeah, I kind of remember doing that. But so back to your question, how often do I think about the repercussions of the accidents? Every day. Every day.
If destiny, let's say, that one of you would not make it, do you think that this would have been, without question, your dad's choice to have you live on as opposed to him?
No doubt. Obviously, what he would wish for and what he would say is, yeah, we're both going to survive. But if one of us had to die, he would say he wants to die and he wants me to live. And if it was me, if you asked me that question, I would say I want to die and I want my dad to live.
As far as school goes, how is school going with you? Because you mentioned having to devote a little more time to your studies than you've had to in the past. It doesn't come quite as easily.
It's good. It's going good. It's going really well. Excuse me. Here we are talking about school, and I'm making a grammatical error. It's not that I'm any less intelligent now than I was 5 years ago. It just takes me longer to process things and to, reading comprehension is a little more difficult for me. Like, I'll read a book, or I'll read a chapter in a book, or I'll read an article, and then I'll have to, if I don't take notes on it as I read, I'll have to go back and review it so I really make sure that it's kind of sticking in my brain. I don't know that having to work harder at school to do well is a bad thing.
I've heard people talk about Austin Hatch would be a great movie. If there was an Austin Hatch movie, who would play Austin Hatch? Who would you want to play you?
Wow, that's a loaded question. I might want to play me. I mean, why not? It'd be interesting because I don't know that you could make the movie so realistic and just have someone portray me without going through it themselves. That's a really tough question to answer, and maybe there'll be a time down the road when a movie about my life will come out. I don't know. Might be interesting, but yeah, I guess we'll fight that battle when we come to it.
This is a cool moment. Austin Hatch going to get some playing time right now.
It was April 27th, 2015, when you decided to take the medical exemption, which ended your playing career here at Michigan. How difficult was that decision on April 27th? Because I know basketball had been something you and your father really shared together.
Well, you know, the reality is, Glenn, my playing career really ended 5 years ago, or almost 5 years ago now. If you have the goal of being great and your actions and your habits don't line up with that goal, you either need to change your actions or you need to change your goal. See what I mean? So I no longer have any eligibility, but God willing, I'll be able to play. I'll get a pass, if you will, from the NCAA. They'll make an exception and allow me to play in the senior night game. I'm going for 30.
Great perspective from that young man. You heard a lot about Austin's past in that piece. Tonight at 11 o'clock, we're going to hear Austin talk about his future, and that includes what he plans to do with his life after Michigan. Well, earlier today at 6, you heard Austin Hatch reflect on his past. It's been 5 years since he survived a second plane crash. Tonight, we look ahead to what he's doing with the Michigan basketball program and his plan for the future. You're listed as a student assistant coach here at Michigan. What's a typical week like for you during the basketball season, trying to balance studies and your responsibilities here in basketball?
Say we'll have 4 days of practice. Hopefully I can make it to 2, maybe 3 of those. And I'll lift with the team every time. I do that every time. But it's really more about just being a great teammate and embracing my new role and helping my teammates in any way I can. It's more about the relationship for me and for them, because obviously I can't help them on the court anymore, unfortunately. But just you know off the court, I think since that's really all I can do, I take great pride in that.
You ever show the guys how to shoot? Come on.
I don't know that I show them, but there's a lot of trash talk that goes on between us. You know, not to say the what if, or but I just kind of say, if I didn't get hurt, I probably would have had 40 on you.
What are you studying here at the University of Michigan, and then what do you hope to do, I guess, in the future with the degree that you learn here?
I recently got admitted to a program called Organizational Studies. So you learn about how to, more about the people side of business than just the numbers. I set the goal of playing basketball at Michigan and I've referenced this in interviews before, maybe with you, in fact, about playing basketball at Michigan, but I was in a coma. And so how am I going to get from being in a coma to playing basketball at Michigan? And I think the same goal applies to my career in business. My ultimate goal is to run a company someday, be a CEO. And so I want to be a CEO, but I'm a sophomore in college now. So how am I going to get from being a sophomore in college to being a CEO? Quite frankly, I don't really know yet all the details of that, but I'm just going to work hard, control what I can control, and everything else will take care of itself.
You've talked a lot in the last few years about honoring your father's memory. What do you think he would think of the man that you've become if he had a chance to see you today?
I've thought about that a lot. I think about that almost every day, in fact, and I think he'd be really proud of me. If Dad could just come down from heaven just for a half hour, what would he say to me? He would just tell me just to keep at it, and the things happen that are we're not in control of our lives, obviously, and he just encouraged me to keep working at it.
How much are you looking forward to hopefully being a father yourself and being on the other side of that experience, on the other side of that mirror?
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait. That's probably sounds very strange for a 21-year-old college kid saying, "Man, I can't wait to be a dad, be a father." But that, for me, I think that's the reason I'm still alive. I think in the lessons he taught me, many of those, almost all of those, I still carry with me today. And I can't wait to pass those on to you know, to my son someday, or daughter, or both. Obviously, you know, with everything that's happened, you know, I'm not the same person today that I was 5 years ago. What's happened in my life journey so far has forced me to adapt. And I don't think that that's been a bad lesson to learn. You know, obviously you don't want to have to learn that lesson at the expense of everything I've been through. But I think in a way that'll have positive impacts on me down the road.
Great perspective from that young man. Now, aside from speaking at the Common Bond Breakfast tomorrow, Austin's got a busy summer. It includes interning at Domino Farms in Ann Arbor. I'm Glenn Marini, News Channel 15 Sports.